What's up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Today we are out at Veterans Park, and ideally we'd like to play the front nine, but it rains, so we're gonna play the back nine, and we're gonna be defending another YouTuber in the comments. We're gonna see, are the people right? Is he right? Is everyone right? Before I dive in, gotta ask, how you doing today, Anthony? Are you having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
All right, so in 2024, we vowed that we would be throwing more, playing more, things like that in our videos. So here's what we're doing while we're talking about this moment that has come up is I recently discovered that my parents, I bought them starter sets, or I helped them pick starter sets out like 2 or 3 years ago. They're going on a trip in March, and they are going to be playing disc golf while they're on their trip with some friends, and asked if I could send some other starter sets. They were going through their starter sets and showing what they have, and I have failed them miserably. Miserably might be an overstatement. One of the discs that I had in there, and my mom is like a big fan of the color pink, and so we picked pink discs, and the closest I could get to a good mid-range for her was a Neutron Hex, which isn't really that great for someone of her arm speed. My mom also has like the long acrylic nails, so she can't really like power grip anything, so she's just fan gripping this Neutron Hex, and it's going super overstable for her. So the goal is I'm going to be throwing this Origin for like the next 2 weeks and trying to throw it a lot and hit a lot of trees with it. That way I can beat it in, and then I'm going to send this to her so that she doesn't have to throw the Hex instead. And then I'm probably going to put another Origin in my bag because let me tell you, I really wanted to be the Meteor, but the Meteor I don't think wants to be with me. Recently in Foundation Discs, we dropped Robbie C with the Key Owl stamp crystal meteors, and I had not thrown a meteor in quite some time, so I went out in the video with Brad and Jason and we threw them, and the meteor surprised me, and I was like, dang, I think this is gonna go in the bag, until this shot happened.
Yeah. Sit.
Hit a barn.
Hit and sit. Hit and sit.
But I was like, you know what? Maybe that meteor was really good. Let me test it out. So I came back to our local shop and I bought 2 more meteors. I put a really cool, like clear one with some like fly dye in there, threw it, blasted 16 holes, launched it straight into a tree, and it got stuck and I couldn't see it. So that was a really sad day when that happened. So here I was, 2 rounds trying to put a meteor in my bag, and I lost a meteor literally every round. Origins, however, seem to stick around quite a bit, so I think we may be trying to run a special stamp with some Origins, a little hint, hint, nudge, nudge. 150 feet, turnover, basket sits just to the right. And let's talk about our boy, Anthony Bodanza. Okay, we're up there. I can already see the Banana Fall friends rolling into the chat, because I haven't really decided yet if I'm like gonna actually use this as like part of the thumbnail or not, but welcome to the world. Also, for anyone asking, I'm just playing with the Origin to beat it up. Why do I have my whole bag? Well, I'm putting with the Wizards, so I had to bring those along, and plus I honestly needed somewhere to put my keys. YouTuber problems. So our boy Anthony puts out a video recently of him. I think the thumbnail was like biggest choke of my career, and I thought, man, what would cause the biggest choke of his career? And watching his content, he is trying to crush past that 990 rating so that he can get into some Pro Tour events, because the channel continues to evolve and continues to grow, which is really sick. I mean, I don't know if there's anyone in disc golf working as hard as Anthony is right now. So he opened with, all I got to do is just go out and shoot a 1020 rated round, and I'm going to reach that 990 goal for the next rating update. Now, there are loads of tournament players who would tell you that just shooting a 1020 is harder than it may look. But like I said, there are a few people, if anyone, working as hard as Anthony, and I totally understand that like the better you get, the more your floor and your ceiling rise. And so 1020, while still statistically higher than his average, should feel difficult. It also feels super attainable, because most often when we're playing really good and we're playing a few strokes or several strokes above where we average, it doesn't always feel like we're playing out of our minds. It often just feels like that flow state or that Zen state that you'll hear people talk about. I remember when I shot my second 1,000 rated round, I went and like talked to another player, Bo McLaughlin on Team MVP, and I was like, I just feel like I didn't mess up. I just feel like I did what I was supposed to, and because I didn't have any errors, that ended up creating 1,000 rated round. So that's defense number one, because I think that people would hear a statement like that, and if they're not in the right Zen state, or even, let's just go ahead and say, like, if you're an amateur or you're not 900 rated and you're hearing someone say, all I got to do is just shoot a 10-20 rated round, you're instantly like, well, riders don't understand how that's so easy. I think it's unrealistic expectations. We're talking about a man who literally wants to play on the Pro Tour. And if you're playing and succeeding on the Pro Tour, shooting 10-20 rated rounds needs to be a norm for you. That is the reality. So I respect that he was willing to put that out there and that he went for it, especially in pretty crummy conditions, because that is not always easy. All right, this is like 150 feet. Origin, surprise, surprise. I'm gonna go hyzer. I'm gonna hit that tree. Here's the thing about trying to beat in a disc though. Did I hit that tree on purpose to accomplish my mission? We'll never know. But here is where things went to a whole other level, is that we went to the comments. And I'm operation or team kind comments at all times. And sometimes people will ask me like, oh, Robbie, where do you think the coaching scene is going? And I try to remind them, if you guys don't think that our coaching scene in disc golf is very developed, clearly you've never been in the comments section of a disc golf YouTube video. Because let me tell you, there are a ton of coaches out there who are willing to offer free, unsolicited advice, especially when you're trying to help other people improve. There's a whole lot of advice coming from other people. I think it's like the top comment in terms of interactions on Anthony's like post or his video that says, hey man, you can't put yourself in a situation where you can only miss 4 birdies. And honestly, that is where it got to a whole nother level for me, because Anthony talked about he had to shoot, I think, a 14 down in that video. And we did the Keep It 1000 series, or we started it. And in that video, I knew I could only miss 4 shots. And so Anthony didn't hit his goal. I didn't hit my goal in the Keep It 1000. And people were saying like, you got to take it a shot at a time, got to take a shot at a time. And Anthony responded, and it's always, let me tell you, it's a tough spot to respond. If you have any persona of kindness out there, the moment you respond to someone on the internet or a comment with like any resistance and just like, oh no, you're totally right, people are like, wow, this man's off his rocker, or like, you just can't respond with disagreement if you have a kind persona for some reason in disc golf. Tricky part here is that I said I was going to putt with the Wizards, and I do need to putt with the Wizards because I want to make sure that I'm continuing to get familiar with this new mold to my bag. But also, if the operation is to beat in a disc and get it like adjusted faster, I probably need to be putting with it as well, because just the extra contact with the chains. So Anthony comes back and he's like, yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I think that it's kind of a case-by-case scenario. Plus, he kind of references that there are plenty of players on the Pro Tour who, if you watch the press conferences, which honestly, I think like a very, very small amount of people actually watch the press conferences before disc golf events, probably because the questions are kind of tame and we aren't getting much of a reaction out of anyone. Then you'll hear people will say like, yeah, I think that people are going to land around like 14, 15 down is where you gotta stay competitive. And that means that they have a goal. They have something that they want to shoot in mind. And if you know you got to get 14 or 15 down, the reality is you can only have so many pars, or you got to start getting eagles and aces and things like that. And I don't know in lots of scenarios for disc golf that we can reliably say, oh, I've got to ace it as a competitive strategy. But if I want to shoot my personal best here, I've got to ace this. So buckle up. Oh, cooked it. Going to leave ourselves a little bit of a tester on this one. So this brings us to the big question mark that really is kind of the point of this video, now that we've set it all up and we're like 10 minutes in. As a guy who really tries to focus on the strategy of disc golf and helping people improve that way, lots of amateur players just adjusted the strategy in which they attack disc golf. They wouldn't even really have to improve their skill set that much. Do I think that Anthony did something wrong in how he approached the mental strategy? Because if that's true, I would be leaning more into the, oh, you have to live shot by shot by shot by shot. Is that the right way to go? Or is it more so that you need to be in the, here's what I'm shooting for, here's my expectations, and therefore, what can I adjust accordingly? So I'll go ahead and address the Anthony bit first, so that way that he can go ahead and feel off the hook, and because I know people are going to send him this video because we're talking about him, and I want him to be able to go back and do literally anything more productive with his life than watching a Robbie C video. So appreciate you stopping by, brother. The cop-out answer here is that I think it really just depends on the person. I think it depends on the setting and scenario. So I completely agree with Anthony on that. And we once again have to go back to what we even opened with on the, oh, I'm just going to shoot a 10-20 rated round. Anthony is trying to make it on the Pro Tour. And if you're going to go on the Pro Tour, all of these players, it is so rare for them to have a hole presented to them that players are walking in willingly accepting a par. The course is designed in a way, holes are designed in a way like this 220-foot shot where you're like, hey, I've got to get a birdie here. Man, these origins go so far, dude. That's okay. This is kind of fun. I'm appreciating having this just back in the back. So when a pro player steps up, when an MPO player especially steps up to a hole or steps up to a round, they're thinking to themselves, I have got to go 18 down here. I have got to end 18 under par. I've got to get all these birdies, because if I don't get all those birdies, then I'm losing strokes to the field over and over again. A lot of people don't like the Vegas challenge because it turns into a birdie race, whereas I think it is such a fun skill for the pros to demonstrate that they can turn it on so that every shot matters so much, because you've got to be getting all those birdies. Now I'd like to sit on that word there for a second and remind you that that is a skill. I've got a student that I'm working with who is floating in the, like, he's like 897 rated right now, I think is where he landed on this last update. Consistency wise, he has the ability to play in the 900 to 920 range for sure. Even when we finished up our latest coaching session, I talked to him and he was like, I just got to make sure if I shoot like 2 rounds above 900, then I'll be over the 900 mark. And I had to remind him, my guy, you don't have to shoot above 900 rated golf. You just have to shoot good golf for you, and we know that that number is going to be above 900. Not focusing on the result, but more so on you playing great golf to you. Now, why can the pros attack holes for birdie after birdie after birdie? I think there are 3 things that pros have that a lot of amateurs, and really I would say probably 95% of the disc golf population doesn't have all 3 of these, and that's why they are not top pros. The first is going to be distance. They can reach almost all of these holes. And if they cannot reach the hole, that's going to be the first thing that pulls it off of the birdie range for them. 500-foot par 3, awesome. They can't reach that. They are not going to be playing that one for a birdie. They're accepting that they're going to lose strokes to other folks that have that distance. The second is consistency. Their form is not so erratic because they've been changing it, because they watched an overthrow video this day, they watched a slingshot video this day, they watched a Robbie C video this day, they watched a trebuchet disc golf video this day, and they're bouncing around between all these different little video sessions, and their form is just a jumbled mess. No, they have consistency. They're working with one person, or maybe not working with anyone at all, and they're just throwing those same shots over and over and over again. And their shots are repeatable and consistent. And the third thing is experience. They have been in these pressure scenarios before. They do this for a living. They play for a living. So they're used to it, whereas we are maybe not used to competing in that experienced environment. And also, when you miss a putt, most often, it's not going to cost you thousands of dollars. If they miss a putt, it could cost them thousands of dollars, but the experience that they go from playing on the tour allows them to continue to excel there. So where Bodanza is shining more so than most, because he's putting in more work than most people are putting into their disc golf game, distance, he's getting there. And he's very understanding on, okay, I can't reach this hole, therefore I have to play for the 3, I have to play it comfortably, whatever it may be. Consistency. This is probably, I would say, his weakest area right now, and that's just because he has only been playing for a year and a half, close to 2 years. So he's changed his form around a lot, and that's just going to come with time. But once again, because he's putting in more work than any of us, he's going to reach that consistency faster than any of us. So he's picking up those skills fast. And third, I think that the experience he's getting is when you're playing in front of a camera and you're playing very often, you have 2 options. One, you can fake it all, and if you miss a putt, sick. Just throw it again and edit out the missed putt. Especially if you're editing your own stuff, pretty easy to do that. I kind of love that Silas has editing power, because then I don't really get to fake anything. And if I did fake it, then well, Silas wouldn't know. And then we'd both have to live in the lie. And that would be tough. So instead, we just advertise that we are mediocre like we are. But when you have the experience, especially when he's videoing and showing his tournament rounds, not only is he playing his tournament rounds for him, he's playing his tournament rounds for you, the viewer, as well. So there's just added pressure there. So he's going to reach that experience threshold faster than most people who have never even played on the Pro Tour. And there are even people playing on the Pro Tour who have never really made it successful, but they have found a way or some relationship or something or other that they can sustainably stay on the tour, but they're really never getting eyeballs on him. And that's okay too. So I think he's got the right mentality to kind of live in the pro state. But the thankful part is we still got quite a few holes left to talk about. If that is all one side of the coin, what flips to the other side? All right, all the trees are kind of out of the way, but we're gonna switch things up here and go origin. Basket sits just over the hill right there. Gonna flip this up and let it ride. Just super straight. That's so easy, dude. Origin's nasty. So let's talk AMs, because if AMs don't have all three of those factors that we were talking about, how do they attack and live in the shot by shot mentality, which is the other side of the coin? Nope. So if you don't have the distance, then obviously certain holes come out of play for you. If you don't have the repeatability or the consistency can also translate to accuracy because your form knows what it's doing, and experience comes with time, right? So going the shot by shot mentality, rather than walking in and saying, hey, I'm gonna shoot 14 down today, I can only miss 4 holes. I like to flip that on its head, especially with beginner players, and use the attack hole strategy that we've talked about in other videos before. But the attack hole strategy is you're going to pick a maximum of 6, but 4 to 6 holes that you plan on attacking during a round. Now this can change depending on how easy the course is, but let's say that you're trying to shoot a couple under par. I'm gonna pick 4 to 6 attack holes, and I'm gonna call those the holes that I'm going to quote play aggressive on. These are holes that I can play for a birdie in an aggressive shot. I can still save a par most of the time. So if I were building an attack hole strategy for a lot of other players coming out to play this, and they were trying to shoot 6 or 7 down, then I would pick 5 or 6 holes that they feel like they can attack, and then you play everything else for par. If you're playing for par, birdies are gonna come, but we're not upset when a par comes. And where that helps is staying in the shot. See, I threw that even, like, it stayed straight for so long, but everything just gets pulled over to the left farther than you think it will. See, real lean out situation here. Rat's nest. We were right of the basket, but we weren't like super far right of the basket. So therefore we're in this weird, like, low ceiling. Let's see if Topanga can step up and do her thing. Nope. Topanga. That was successful. Beat it in. Now, if I'm playing the goal mentality of like, I only get 4 mess ups, this is quote a mess up, and therefore that has a negative connotation. Whereas if I'm expecting, hey, this is an attack hole, I don't necessarily have to get this for a birdie, there is way less expectation. This is not an attack hole. Way less expectation, which puts less pressure on me later on the round. With an attack hole strategy mindset and living shot by shot, if I mess up a shot like I did that drive, I can try to refocus in, okay, let's make up for it with a good upshot. Okay, I didn't make up for it with a good upshot. And because I didn't make up for a good upshot, I didn't make a good putt either. And I let it kind of barrel down in a very negative way. I'm just stepping up here that is an attack hole. It's like 150 feet just around that tree. And I'm just gonna try to throw it in. And I'm gonna be about 100 feet left of the basket. Really not 100 feet, but it is like 35. Shot by shot. Is it where we want our drive to be? No, but we refocus up. Do your routine. Think through it. And you throw the putt. But if I'm focusing on the goal that I've got to shoot, now I have a longer putt than I necessarily wanted on a short hole. And because of that, I'm putting more pressure on myself. Nope, gotta actually hold on to it, Dennis. That's fine. We didn't want to grip lock it right because there was a guy walking, and so in order to not do that, I just let go. So if you're a newer player or you're inexperienced, and let's say you don't have those 3 keys to success, then I think going the shot by shot mentality, the shot by shot approach is going to be so huge for you finding success in the course. so that you're not letting extra pressure come from the story of your round. Oh, so nose down, dude. Did you ever think that was gonna have a chance, Dennis? For pros, almost every single hole is an attack hole. They're not stepping on a hole 5 thinking, all right, I just screwed this up, which means, you know, I'm gonna have to make sure, even though I was already planning on it, I really gotta make sure I birdie 15, 16, 17, and 18. They've messed up the first 2 holers, and they're like, all right, I just gotta crush this drive. I've gotta throw this drive really well. And they are actually living in the moment and living in the throw while letting the pressure actually push them to succeed. And they're used to that clutch moment. The best example I can give is shark smells blood in the water. Okay, that feels really good. Beauty of throwing in an open field, everybody. Everybody tries to run from the woods, but the open field is where the wind is the squirreliest. But experience can create confidence, right? I think one of my proudest moments, disc golf or Foundation All-Stars dropped on their channel last week, and it got cut out, or most of it got cut out, but I ended up going to, in the putting contest, I ended up in a putt-off with Christian. And so we both go, I had to putt first. I hit chains, hard right, fell out of the basket. It was high right, so that's fine, but I felt good about that putt. Christian steps up and he airballs it. And then he has to putt again. Now, technically, this should be Christian's advantage because he literally threw a putt like 10 seconds before, so he should be able to just autocorrect and throw the putt. And he does. He instead of airballing it right, hits high left, and it just falls out. And it's like, oh no.
Let's go, Christian. Clutch up.
One time! Oh!
In the water. We had a good run.
There it is.
Wow. When I stepped up to that putt, I thought this basket is as big as a barn. I don't think I could miss this if I wanted to right now. And that just comes from experience and confidence and consistency. I have the distance of that putt. I have the consistency of knowing what a putt like that feels like. And also I have the experience of making lots of putts from that range. Now that's not meant to say that, oh man, I'm pro tour level. But when it comes to putting, I feel very confident on the putting green, more so than anywhere else on a disc golf course. So I'm not thinking about during putts necessarily the weight of what the putt means. I'm just thinking about that putt in its entirety. Living in the moment, while it feels like, hey, living in the shot, that's an amateur skill. It's something that you're going to learn here. And then once you start living with the pressure of a set score, this skill comes back on, and now it aids you even more because you have more fuel to that fire in throwing for the story of the round. Okay, we got over most of the green. I'm trying this glow wizard out. Oh, too low. And right in the heart of the mud. Nope. Yep. Oh, ho, ho. Let's see what you got. What is it? You got the extra glide for us, Origin? No, too much fade. At the end of the day, we go through all of this to say both people are right, both sides are right. And I just think it depends on what stage of your disc golf game you find yourself in. One more warm, get it loose. There we go. Grateful for Bodanza marking and like documenting this territory in terms of like showing the grind that it actually takes to become really good at disc golf. He's putting in the grind, putting in the effort. Stoked to see where he goes. For those of you who are not joining the Pro Tour anytime soon, which would be most of the disc golf world, and that's okay. That attack hole strategy, if you've never tried it, I would highly encourage your next round, find 5 to 6 holes that you feel like I can play aggressive for birdie here, and I can go for those. And if I go for that aggressive shot, it doesn't necessarily change what I'm trying to do. We'd be very curious to see how that goes for all of you in the comments. Thank you again for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. I know this one got kind of long, but I don't know. Hopefully it was fine. Anyway, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.